Good morning. To say that we didn't play well Monday night is an understatement. Very embarrassing the way the defense performed, and I take full blame and responsibility for that. It's definitely not indicative of who we are. I think when you look at the identity of this defense, each week you're going to tweak a few things. And in the previous 2 weeks, I did that, and we performed well. What I did, I got outside the fundamentals of what we do. And what you saw Monday night, you saw a defense that was thinking too much, that couldn't get aligned, that played slow. And when you see that as a unit, that's on me. And we're going to get back to doing what we do, fundamentals and technique, the identity of what we established from day one. And we're going to get this thing turned around. And we started that yesterday. And with that, I'll take your questions.
The tackling specifically, you guys have been pretty good on tackling, I think, the first 4 games. What do you think broke down there? Were the angles not right? That you always talk about angles.
Well, when you look at a couple of times, the two that really stands out is the opportunity that we had to get off the field on third down when we hadn't backed up. And we just didn't, wrap up. You saw, I believe it was TJ one time, and then you saw Jermaine on another one. And then most importantly, we need population to the ball. We need guys running to the ball, as you talked about, proper angles, so therefore, we can get them down. And you're right. Previous couple of weeks were good. We broke down the other night, and that's something we have to improve on. Because, again, this week, you're going against a great offense, Carson, who's going to run the ball just as hard as those guys did last week, as well as Penny. So we got our work cut out for us again this week.
It was a little surprising, at least to me, that you stayed with your basic 4-2-5 package to start the game against a team that uses two backs. So why was that the effective way to do it?
We felt, number one, that our safeties are strong enough, big enough. They understand the run fits. I don't think that really had anything to do with the outcome of the game, to be honest, Tony. I think, again, that we didn't align correctly at times. I thought we were thinking too much. We didn't set the front right. And all that goes back on me. I think we were trying to do too much. And it showed in our performance. There's times where you're going to see maybe a guy or two, or sometimes even a position group that's going to struggle a little bit. But when the whole defense looked lethargic, slow, I put all that on me. And, again, we're going to get it corrected.
Easier this week. On a short week, you got to get ready and play a dynamic quarterback like Russell Wilson in that Seahawks offense, and you just never know when the play's over with him. Could you touch on the challenge of preparing for a player like that and dealing with the knowledge that the play's not over until it really is over with him?
That's so true. I faced Russell a couple of times, probably 8 times in the last, 6, 7 years, rather regular season of the playoffs, and he's so dynamic and just extending plays. And those guys, from my understanding, they practice that every day. And, you look at Lockett, that's the guy he's trying to find. Those guys do a great job of really scrambling and trying to work to get open. We got to do a great job containing this guy, which is going to be tough, but we got to try to keep him in the pocket. And when he does get out, we got to make sure that we plaster on the back end. And you're completely right. The play is never over with him. I've seen him make so many plays that you think the play is over, and all of a sudden now he finds a way to get the ball in there.
I know what you said makes it clear you think you enumerated what was wrong with the defense and took responsibility, and it would go away from any of this having to do with being part of a first-year regime. But you started up your own first-year regime last year, and now Freddie's trying to do that in consort with you and your autonomy or whatever. But the question is, how tough is it to be a first-year head coach or in a first-year system and trying to make that fly while you're getting everything organized?
It's a tough transition. Whenever you're trying to lay a foundation of your culture and what you want, I think Fred is doing a tremendous job. I really do. I think the expectations, his message, and I think he does a great job of really coaching the players as well as the coaches. all right, and laying out a plan of action on how to achieve that. You go back and you look at the first game of the year and rallying the guys together and getting those guys to respond. And we're going to do the same thing this week. Again, that wasn't indicative of who we are, as a defense or team.
The other guys thinking too much. Was that in response to all the stuff that Kyle Shanahan does as you're trying to keep up with that?
Cal does a tremendous job. That's a good football team that we just played. And Cal does a tremendous job in his scheme and, most importantly, getting those guys ready to play. And to me, we went a little too much on what we did on the previous couple of weeks. And each team is different, and having experience with those guys before, I shouldn't have walked down that path. I knew better. We made some adjustments throughout the game. You saw us slowing down a little bit and playing according to how we needed to play and stopping the run some. But again, I'm not concerned about it because I know how we can play and how we will play. We started that correction period yesterday, and I saw the results. So
The numbers, weren't good against them. And you mentioned Carson. So what do you guys have to do better to limit him this week?
Well, again, it's just gap integrity, all right? Lining up correctly, number one, that's a start. And then two, everybody doing their job, standing in their gaps. It's a good football team, as I mentioned. Carson and Penny, they run hard. And then you got the element of the play action, the same thing we saw last week with the 49ers. So great eye discipline across the board. We got to do a great job of recovering in the hole off of play action with our linebackers, and we got to do a great job of staying over the top of 16 Lockett.
And it looks like Greedy and Denzel are getting closer to getting back for you guys, but your backup corners have played pretty well in their stead. How are you going to manage, all four of those guys with Terrence and Kerry once Greedy and Denzel come back? It's kind of a good problem to have, but
It's a good problem to have, and we're going to address that problem when it happens. I'm worrying about right now stopping this run game with the Seahawks. But seriously, to answer your question, we are going to have some issues when they come back. Those guys are performing well, Terrence as well as TJ, and competition is great. That's what we encourage across the board. So the better we are from a standpoint of competition, the better we're going to make this defense. So we'll see exactly where we are once those guys come back into the fold.
When you watch that touchdown pass from Russell to Tyler Lockett in the left corner of the end zone there, you can coach everything exactly perfectly, and that guy can coach and try to cover it perfectly. But I mean, how do you defend an incredible play like that and the things that Russell can do?
That's a good question, Mary Kay, and it's tough to defend. It's funny, we just watched that play in the meeting and talked about from a standpoint of scrambling. And, I think Lockett was probably this close right here for his feet being out of bounds. But that's the play that Russell can make. That's the play that he's made over the years. So, again, we just got to find ways to try to contain him. And most importantly, on the back end, we got to plaster guys and really try to get them out of bounds and knock them down.
Randall has said repeatedly that they punched you guys in the mouth with that touchdown run right off the bat. Is there a main coaching point that you take out of that?
I don't think that one play was really the outcome of the game. Did it get us back on our heels? Yes, I thought we responded. That play can't happen. When you look at from, again, starting up front, the three techniques: swim the guard, all right? Allow the guard to get to the second level. We can't allow that to happen, all right? And then now the linebacker needs to fall back off that particular run, but he didn't have an opportunity because the guard was in his face. And then the bottom line, the safety got to get him down. Regardless of what happened, we got to find a way to get that guy down in the secondary. So, again, great play by them, not efficient and definitely not detailed on our part.
Pass in the corner is a perfect example of Wilson's accuracy. But is that something you see time and again, that whether or not he's in the pocket or on the move, he just has really great ball placement?
He does, and again, it's just been him over the years, but I think he's more effective, believe it or not, when he gets outside the pocket. He's a guy that's not really looking to run. His eyes are constantly down the field, and he's looking for that open receiver. So that's the challenge for us, as someone has already mentioned, that we can't relax in coverage, particularly once he gets outside the pocket.
And do you look at that situation somewhat in the context of, when that transition had to be made, there was this kind of gap, and you're trying to close the gap on the experience and, what he's able to do as a rookie?
You see the athleticism there. I'm talking about with Mac, very skillful. But of course, when you start talking about a rookie compared to a seasoned vet, you're missing some things there, and he's going to have some growing pains. You saw that on the first play, So, but I still have total confidence in Mac. I know he's going to be a good football player for us, and he's going to learn from this, like we all are, like I did.
The tight end this league.
Very talented. I know they brought Wilson back as well, but this guy is just like the guy from last week. Very skillful out in space. He's going to look to try to hit you down the seam, particularly in the red zone. Very good inline blocker as well. So we have another task this week in covering the tight end. I think he's very good.
Differently, but you're kind of on a run of teams that like to run the ball a bunch. So what kind of challenge is that? Because we don't see those offenses as much anymore. But what kind of challenge is that to go against those types of offenses?
Each week I think it's different, and I think you have to tweak some things, as I mentioned earlier. This run game is similar to what we saw last week, outside zone, all right, zone read, and some gap scheme. And again, our tackles inside got to play well. We've got to play well up front across the board. And our linebackers got to play downhill to try to get the double teams off, We got to do a great job of setting edges in this particular offense, which, again, you saw the hesitation last week, guys not striking with violent hands and those things. And I think going back to who we are and doing the things that we've done in the past is going to get us to playing fast again. So, again, I'm not overly concerned. I am disappointed in our performance, but I'm not overly concerned about us getting this corrected.
Is Myles Garrett as aggressive as he was in those first two games? And he got 3 roughing the passer penalties and 5 sacks, but the numbers don't seem to be the same.
Well, I think he's still aggressive, Jeff. But the thing about it, I think what you're seeing, he's trying to work within the confinements of not getting a penalty. He's still quick off the ball. He's still making some things happen. You saw that 1 sack he got last week. Again, can he play better? Of course he can, and we need that across the board with all those guys up front.